Shalom, shalom. If anyone can hear me, just give me a con, give me a one, give me a yeah, something that I understand that I'm being heard right before we get into the history class. All right. I've opened that. So it's going to work on the Facebook. Bear me 1 second. All right, then. Bear me 1 second. I got an idea. I'll see if you're still banned. Bear me setting up the Facebook. All right, looking good. All right, so yeah, we're live on the YouTube and the Facebook as well. I have to charge my phone, see how long it can last. All right, so yeah, shalom. So this is the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA. As you know, in the UK, today's class is the Monday history class, where we go into history. Like a lot of times in the UPK, what does everyone say? You lot only know the Bible. All you know is the Bible, and there's nothing wrong, even if all what we knew was the Bible, but we do know history as well. If you believe this Bible is real, then surely there's history out there that would confirm the Bible. If we believe that the Bible is the word of God and what is in this Bible is actual events and they did happen, then surely they'll be found in history. That's why with the Bible, Exodus is found in history, man. The Assyrian Empire, even the kings of the Assyrian Empire, they're found in history because those events that happen in the Bible are real. That's why in the UPK, it's always fundamental that we teach a history class so that as well as knowing the Bible, the laws, statutes, commandments, and the things that the Most High loves and wants us to apply in our everyday lives, it's also important that, we know the Bible and we know the historical side of the Bible too. Because unlike the Bible, many other so-called religious books ain't the same. The Egyptian Book of the Dead, that history doesn't match up with no one else's history. Egyptian history goes against everyone else's history, and it's not because they're right and everyone else is wrong. The truth is Egyptian history is wrong and everyone else's history is more accurate. Now with the Bible, what you're going to realize is that The Bible has accurate history. Kings found in the Bible: Babylonian Empire, the Persians, the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans, the kings. You know what I mean? Like things that you'll read of in the Bible, you will find. And that's why, this Bible that we read, it's not a myth. And these events did happen. So in the UPK, we teach the Monday history class. Then on the Wednesday, we have a law class done by Officer Dumgabar. That's another powerful class. Then we have the scripture breakdown class on the Thursday. So all these classes that we have are done at the same school, which the address is 394 Lodge Road, postcode B18 5PW. So, we do classes here 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All the classes are done at the same time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. So, if you're in the Birmingham region, and you're an Israelite, then the doors are open to you. Come learn your history, come learn who you are, and if you have any questions, then the doors are always open as well. So before we get into the class, has anyone got any questions online? Because we're going to be going through quite a lot of history today. I got more books, but just for the sake of time, just going to use a few. So check the YouTube. 1 second. All right, then. So today's class is about the Arabs and their hand in slavery. Why? Because many black people that follow Islam, you ask them why, what is the first thing they will say? Because Europeans and the Bible enslaved us. But what a lot of them are very ignorant of is that Arabs under Islam did the same thing in Africa. And many of them don't know. There was one time, I believe this is about 10 years ago, it was done in America, and many black people that followed Islam, whether it was the Nation of Islam or just the regular Islam, they asked them, so like, these black men, so why do you follow Islam and not Christianity? And 95% of them said the same thing: because Christianity is a slave religion, it's an oppressive religion. And many of them that said that was totally unaware that a black man following Islam, that's another slave religion too. They were totally ignorant, and all of them pretty much said the same thing. All of them said, that's a slave religion, the Bible. And a lot of them were very ignorant to the history of what Arabs done to black people too. They were very ignorant to that. If you go to West Africa, even today, Nigeria, Ghana, Mali, Togo, Benin, they follow Islam, yes, but it's not because it sounded nice. It's not because it was convincing. That was forcing them. It was said, yo, you follow Islam or you die. And many black people are very ignorant of those facts. And when you say it, some may laugh at you. When you say it, some may think you're dumb, but you're not dumb. You just know history and they don't. And that's what it really all comes down to. So I got a question. What is in the book of Revelations, the churches, the 7 churches, Revelations 1. So what is it? Okay, with a church is not what we think it is in these days. A church just means where people meet up. So it's not the house. So all it's talking about is the places where the Israelites dwelt. So in Revelations 1 and 11, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. What thou seest, write in the book, and send it unto the seven churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia. So now, if you get a Bible map, you can look it up. Those places were like, in on a modern map, that would be like Turkey. So like with that region there, Armenia, and like that region. So there was Israelites that were scattered there. And what John saw, he written a book and he sent it unto them. So, you can get a Bible map. If you don't want to buy the book, it's on line as well. If you just look it up, it will let you know where all these are. And they're not even that far from each other as well. So it was all in the same realm. If that answers that for you, in Revelations 1 and 11. All right. So now, as I was saying, many are totally unaware of it. So today, we're gonna get into some history on what the Arabs did, and what Arabs thought of people that look like us, people that was black. What many people don't know is that Arabs hated black people, and many of their writers even wrote very derogatory things about us as well. And we're going to get into that also as well. So the books we're going to use, of course, there's many more, but this one here is written by James Alvin. It's called A Short History of Slavery. So this is one here that we're going to use. Then we're going to use The Black Holocaust for Beginners. Now, I like this book because it's for beginners. So, if you're saying Arabs did not do it, then, this book is for beginners. And let's see what they know and what a beginner should know about the Black Holocaust. So this is another book here. Then we're going to use the legacy of Arab Islam in Africa. This is another good book as well. On the camera. And we're not going to really read this one, but just to show you images out of this one. This is called The History of Slavery, written by Suzanne Everett. So, we're going to just use these alongside with the Bible as well. So first, let's start off in Isaiah 5 and 1. Isaiah 5 and 1. Now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved, touching my vineyard. So now, who is the vineyard of the Lord? We are blacks and Hispanics. And the Lord's saying that he's going to sing a song, meaning he's going to let us know something. So my beloved have a vineyard in a very fruitful hill. And what's that fruitful hill? The land of Israel. Meaning the Lord, he put us in a wonderful place. We served him. We kept his commandments. And the Lord, he put us in a very fruitful hill. Verse 2, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof. So what does it mean by the Lord fenced it? Meaning when you fence something, you protect it. Like, if you have a house and you don't want no one going into your front yard, you fence it. You fence it so that no one can't come in. And the Lord's saying with us, the Israelites, blacks, Hispanics, and native Indians, he fenced us. He protected us. When we served him, he fenced us, made sure nobody harmed us. Why? Because we was his beloved. Reading on. and gathered out the stones thereof, and planted it with the best vine, and built a tower in the midst of it, and also made a wine press therein. And he looked that it would bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. So what does that part mean? Meaning the Lord, he looked out for us. And like anything in life, if you do something, you want a result. It's life. You go to the gym, you work out hard, expecting what? You're gonna get those abs that you want. You're gonna get that six pack, that chest, that back. Depending on whatever anyone works on. And likewise with us, blacks and Hispanics, the Lord, he protected us on wanting results. And what were those results? For us to obey the Lord, obedience. And what happened? We became wild. After the Lord protected us, gave us everything, we paid him back with basically disobeying the Lord. We paid him back with not keeping commandments. And that's what made us wild. Reading on. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and the men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. So like, what else can I do, man? Like, you saw what I did. You saw what I did for the nation of Israel. And now look, you can judge. If you think I didn't do anything good, you judge. Didn't I look after you? Didn't I raise up men to, show you the way? And what happened? We became wild. Reading on. What could I have done more to my vineyard? And listen to what God's saying, man. God's saying, what more could I have done, man? What more could I have done for the people that I love, man? I know what we did was become wild. The Lord saved us. We'll go and make a calf and say that that's God. The Lord will save us again. We'll follow for a while. Then we'll go back to our sinful ways. And God's saying, what more could I have done? What more could I have done for this people, man? I put them in a fruitful land. I fenced them. I protected them. And they just don't follow me. More to my vineyard that I have not done in it. Wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. And now go to, and I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof. So imagine that. The protection that we got from the Lord saying, I'm going to take that protection away. And that's why we follow Islam. That's why we're in the church. That's why we're in the mosque. That's why we're into Egyptology. Do you want to know why? Because the Lord took away that fence. And now blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we are open game, man. As I said at the beginning of the class, they asked many black men, why don't you follow Christianity, but you follow Islam? And about 95% of them said because of what the European done to us. They enslaved us, lynched us, and none of them was aware of what Arabs did. They were totally ignorant of what Arabs did. And do you want to know why this happens? Because the Lord took his fence away. This happens because we don't have the protection of the Lord, but we're even ignorant to what a nation done to us and follow their religion and believe it's the way. So we're reading on. And it shall be eaten up. And there you go, man. We're eaten up. You can't tell me no other race is eaten up like black people. We're eating up wherever we go, man. Wherever we are, we're serving someone else's God. We're eating up in the church, eating up in the Jehovah Witness hall, eating up in the mosque. And God said this would happen. And break down the wall thereof, and it shall be trodden down. And that's us, man, trodden down. When we serving someone else's God, we are trodden down as a race of people, man. When we look up to Arabs and go, yeah, man, they're great. They're the people of Muhammad. What's that to us? That's the people that are trodden down, and we are those people that are trodden down. And I will lay it waste. It shall not be pruned. nor digged, but so pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns, and I will also command the clouds that they rain no more upon it. So the Lord said, listen, I'm not blessing you no more. And that's us, man. Are people that ain't received a blessing from the Lord in years, man. That's why we're in our enemies' religions. But let me skip to the 13th verse just to get the point. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge. Meaning, the reason why we are in this predicament we're in, because we don't have the knowledge of the Lord. We don't have it. We think we have it in the church. We think we have it in the mosque, and we don't, man. What keeps black people down is the lack of the knowledge that we have, man. Like what it says in Hosea 4 and 6, we are destroyed for what? The lack of knowledge, not for riches, not for strength. We're destroyed for lack of knowledge, man. And that's why when black people leave Christianity to join Islam, and when you ask them, so what made you pick that? Because of slavery, because of what you mean the oppressor did. So what did Arabs do? And they don't even know. No one knows. They're totally unaware. And when you say it, someone will laugh at you. When you say it, someone think, what's this guy talking about? And why? Because we don't have the knowledge. You know what I mean? We think we got it, and it shows how much we don't. Captivity. Their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. So what does the Bible talk about with our honorable men? If you honor someone, you respect them. If someone's honorable, even the word honor, it means respect. So meaning the people that we respect, they are famished, meaning they don't have the knowledge of God. If you're dry, you're like, right, in the Bible, there's many parts in the Bible where the knowledge of God is like what? It's like water. So now if you are dried up, meaning you don't have the knowledge of God, and these honorable men, they're famished, they're dried up, no water, thirsty, chapped lips, you know what I mean? All of that stuff. And God's saying these honorable men, they're famished. And that's why when a black man follows Islam and doesn't even know that Arabs enslaved black people, he's famished. When he doesn't know that an Arab slave trade even happened and lasted longer than the white man's one, he's famished. And that's what God's saying, that the reason why we're in this condition we're in, one, because we don't obey the Lord, and two, the people that we respect, they're famished. They don't have any sort of wisdom at all. And that's why they can't learn you. The only people that can is at the I.S.U.P.K under commanding General YAHANNA. Anyone outside of this cannot learn you, man. They're going to have you following another slave religion, thinking you found, thinking, I was lost, but I'm found, and you're lost still. You know what I mean? You think you found, but you're still lost. You know what I mean? Even the church, like Amazing Grace, I was lost, now I'm found. You was lost, and you lost in the church. That's the reality of it. Ain't no lost and found. You're lost, and you're getting more lost. We are getting more lost, and that's really what it comes down to. So now, let me get into this book, The Legacy of Arab Islam, written by John Alem Azuma. So now, this guy here, he's a Ghanaian man. He's from Ham, you know what I mean? But now, why did he write this book? Because he realized that many people was unaware of what Arabs did. It's like, whenever people mention, what the oppressor did, slavery, lynching, he noticed that, no one was aware of what Arabs did. And then, even in the Arab world, they never even spoke about it. So that's why when you speak to someone that follows the Islam faith, whether they're Bangladeshi, East Indian, you mention what Arabs did, they laugh at you like, what? Arabs don't enslave people. In the Quran, we teach love. And they're not saying it because they're trying to deceive you. They just don't know because it's not taught. And they purposely do that to get black people out of the word of God into their book to follow Islam. It's not done by accident. It's not a coincidence. They get black people into Islam by simply not mentioning what they did. And even to this day, if you go to Western Africa, Morocco, Mauritania, and them parts there, they even slave Africans till this day. You know what I mean? And they even have an act called the African Removal Act, meaning if there's a land that they want, they kick them Africans out. And nobody never talks about that. No one wants to address that. And you know what I mean? And that's the problem. But let's get into the history. So I'm gonna get the first page. I'll call it out when I get it. All right. So okay, no sweat. So this is the preface, page 15. All right. So the same is that in sub-Saharan Africa, where nearly over 1,000 years Arabs lived, with an acted out history in the midst. In all these situations, the Islamic past cannot be adequately understood and appreciated if our attention is only on the Muslim evidence. So what he's saying there is meaning if you want to know what they did in sub-Saharan Africa, you can't just read their evidence. You can't just read their history. Read the opposite side. And why is he saying this? Because if you read their evidence, what would they say? We didn't enslave no one. We came to Africa and just, lived among them, and they found Islam so great they just converted. So he's saying if you follow their evidence, you will be deceived. You will think, well, damn, like they ain't done nothing. If you just read Islam's history and what they believe is evidence alone, the non-Muslim evidence is just as essential in as much academic research. He's saying, don't just go by what they say, which in Islam today, that's the problem that you see. Many of them just listen to what their sheikh says, to what their imam says. And, if you just go by their evidence, you would never know that Arabs enslaved nobody. You know what I mean? If I say it to them, they'll think I'm lying, or, you know what I mean? They'll look at me and think, I don't know what you read, but you're wrong. And why does this happen? Because they read very biased history, which makes them look wonderful. And we came into Africa and, they just like Islam. They saw how we lived and, they just wanted a piece of that. And that's not true. But let's read on. All right, so this is page 18. So now the net result is a romantic image. So it's saying, according to Islam's history and evidence, they give you a romantic image of Islam. Like, wherever we went, we just converted people. They just heard about Muhammad and it sounded so nice. And they make it seem so romantic, man. You go in the mosque about Arabs, like with the Arabs, they castrated men, lynch them. Your imam's gonna look at you like, no. They liked Islam, man. We taught them about Muhammad and, we converted Nigeria, we converted Africa, we'd never done nothing wrong. They make it seem so romantic. But let's read on. Romantic image of the history of Islam, avoiding and sometimes denying such issues as jihadists. There, so even he knows through his research, they deny and they avoid. And what did they avoid? Enslaving black people, man. Enslaving black people, even to the Europeans. They avoid and deny their hand in these things and make you believe you should follow Islam because Christians enslaved you, man. You should come over here because look what they did to you, and you're gonna be in the church. When I know history, so why should I be in the mosque? Why should I be in the mosque with you when your people did the exact same thing? When your people, did the exact same thing before the European and even after him. So what's the difference? But again, even this author knows they avoid and sometimes deny such issues as jihadist. So what is a jihadist? A jihadist is a holy war, or well, that's someone that takes part in a holy war. So what is a holy war? Meaning it's a war where you're fighting people that don't follow Islam. And all throughout Africa and Iraq and places where they own now, they had a jihadist war, meaning they didn't believe, they made war with them, slaughtered them until they believed. And in Africa and unto Israelites, they did the exact same thing, man. And many imams and sheikhs would choose to ignore this history to make Islam seem so nice. What they like to say, look at Islam, it started in Mecca, man. Then it went to Baghdad, Damascus, Jerusalem, all throughout North Africa, all throughout what's in places, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. And they make it seem like it spread so far because it was so nice and so romantic, as the author said. And guess how it spread that far? By bloodshed, man. By killing people, by raping women, by castrating men, by forcing people. You better follow Islam or you're going to die. But if you listen to them, they'll make it seem so romantic. If you listen to them, they'll make it seem like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know Islam, and we do know Islam. And that's how we know it's a religion of war, man. But let's read on. So the jihadists, the slaughter and the massive enslavement of traditional Africans. So now, of course, in this book, he thinks, everyone that lived in Africa is an African. But this author's going, if you listen to Islam, they make Islam seem so romantic, but they enslaved traditional Africans, meaning people that, worship wood, stone, whatever. They enslaved many Africans and Israelites. But in a mosque, you're never ever taught this history. In the Birmingham camp in the UK one time, I was in a debate, and when I said it, the woman was like, "What? What are you talking about?" And at first I thought she was playing dumb, but by her expressions, it was very obvious that she really didn't know. And it's because of her imam, man. He wants to make Islam seem so romantic. It's because of that sheikh. He wants to make Islam seem so, it's all over Africa. It's all over, Iran, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan. Why? Because you slaughtered people and you would rather avoid that part of history. And let me get to page 11. All right, so again, this is a good book here, man. If anyone that follows Islam tries to come up to you and go, Arabs would never do that. This book has history, sources, references, and believe me, it's undeniable facts. But let's get page 11. The view of Muslims who debate and ignore the sword of the truth in the preface to the second edition of his book acknowledges, if not apologizes, for the one-sided view of the events in his book. So who's this guy here? It's a book called The Sword of the Truth. So now this Arab writer, he even apologized in his book on the one-sided view that he gave. And what was that one-sided for you, the Arabs don't enslave no one. You know, we lived among Africans and it was peace. There was no war. And even this man had to admit that in his book, he apologized for his one-sided view. And that's why any Islam historian, you can't take their references as gold, man. You can't take their books as gold like a lot of them do. Slacky, 1 second. 1 second. Wait 1 second. Let's get back to it. All right, where was I? So in his book, he apologized. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, I gave you a one-sided view. You know, like if you're meant to be learning people her history, you're meant to teach him all of it. But in this religion of Islam right here, they teach him a one-sided view that, you know, they've never enslaved no one. They've never done nothing wrong. You know, everyone converted because it sounded so nice. And that is not the truth at all. And even this writer, he apologized on his one-sided view. Get page 12. Actually, for time's sake, I'll skip some of that because I don't want to, you know, make this long-winded. But yeah, this is another book called The History of Slavery. Now, in this book, you know what I mean, it lets you know that Arabs played a big role in, you know what I mean, in it, and that many of them, you know, they're referenced in like the history as well, showing what they did. So, you know, I've read some about how much they lie, but let's get some images out of this book right here. Second, it's just slavery. Page 192. All right. All right, so this is page 192. And in this image right here, you're going to see some Arabs right here. And basically, they ran into the village and you know what I mean, rounding up those that are alive. So I'll read the subtitle for you as well. Don't know if you can see it on the camera right there. If you're on the Facebook, you see it right there. So of course, you know what I mean, what the Arabs would do if there was a village, they would do a raid against it, and the people that was fighting back, they would put them to death, and those that were alive, they would basically round them up, and those that were alive, those would be the slaves. So if you can see it there, so you can see it on, might be a bit too far for you on the YouTube. So I'll read the subheading. The raiders strike. The slavers seize blacks for the Arabic slave trade in East Africa. There, so even in this book, they even have a image of it. So meaning they was a witness to it. So they would raid a village and just kill all those that fought back, and they would basically seize the rest. So how can someone say, I'm not reading no Bible because they done this and that to us, when Arabs that followed Islam done the same thing? You know, I could accept it more if you said, you know what, I don't believe in any of them. Then I could say, well, you know your history. You leave one and pick the other, not knowing what the other did. You jump to the other one. I'm following Islam. You know, look, man, I'm reading the Bible. The enslaved man, they taught me white Jesus and all that. And Arabs did the same thing. And you would choose to ignore that. You know what I mean? So it shows that there's a lot of history that we don't know. There's a lot of history that we are very ignorant of. But let me get some more. So again, this is page 196. So of that same raid they did, they're basically carrying them to a place called Zanzibar, where they will basically sell them there. So Zanzibar wasn't their only place. They also sold, you know what I mean, black slaves in other regions as well. But the faction they got here, they were going to get slaves on an island called Zanzibar, which is southeast in Africa. So I'll show you this image right here. So it's this one right here. So they're rounding them up and they're walking with them. They're taking them to Zanzibar. And these are Arabs that followed Islam, that basically they done their Hajj, they done their Shahada, they done all of that and still enslave black people. You know what I mean? So I'll even read the subheading for you. An Arab slave caravan on its way to the coast. So even the depiction knows that it's Arabs that did this, and they did follow Islam, which I'm going to get into also as well. So this is page 198. So along the way, if a slave couldn't walk no more, before they just let him go, they would actually take their life. Imagine that, like you're walking in the hot sun and you just can't do it, man. Before you just let the person go and go, well, look, man, you know, he's enslaved and he just can't make the walk. Before you just leave him alone, they rather just take their life. And this is the depiction right here. So the slave can't walk no more, and the Arab has a gun pointed at his head. Imagine that. Because he can't walk through that hot sun no more, he'd rather just have him dead. And why is it that black people that follow Islam don't know this? Why is it black people that follow Islam are totally ignorant to this history right here? Look, he can't walk no more, and basically gonna take his life solely because, you know, he doesn't have the energy. He hasn't been fed, hasn't had nothing to drink as well. And, you know, damn, if he's no use to you, you just want him dead. And why is it we don't know this? Because Islam historians give you a one-sided view. Islam historians would rather you believe that Arabs would never do such a thing. They'll rather you believe a lie so that they can get you into following their religion, buying their mandress, buying their items, and make a merchandise of you. See if there's any more. Well, even here. So now in Zanzibar, look, this is where the slaves are being auctioned right here. And on the right, or on my right, look, these men are Arabs right here. And they're the people that rounded them all up. And they're going to get rich off them. There, man. So these men that had their part in slavery, they were Arabs that followed Islam, and they're selling slaves in Zanzibar, man. They done their Hajj, they done their Shahada, and look at them. They don't have no Now, regardless of what their religion says, they don't have any issue enslaving you, man, enslaving us and Africans. You know what I mean? But I thought, it's meant to be a nice religion, and they would never do nothing wrong. But clearly and evidently, the history doesn't lie, man. So now, with that, I'm gonna get into another history book on how Arabs thought about black people. Because I know what someone may say, they enslaved them, but they did have something against black people or people that had dark skin. And I'm gonna get it out of this book right here. Bear with me. All right, get it. All right, so this is out of the book, The Black Holocaust for Beginners. Again, this is another book, so I like that, for beginners. So if you think, we're making something up, let's see what this book says for beginners, man. So out of the book, Black Holocaust for Beginners, page 34. So now this Aid was really dark. He used to carouse with the young men in the camp. So now this is a Arab writer right here. And there was a man that used to live around him. His name was Sir Aid. So of course now he's converted to Islam. So saying this man here, he's very dark. He used to carouse with the young men in the camp, one of whom was as dark as he was, with a thick nose and lips, and a negroid, or in their language, a mazuna appearance, had the foulest smelling armpits. Now, isn't that funny? What do people like to say about black people today? We stink. Now, of course, we know it's a lie. But even in the Arab world, just by looking at us, they thought we stunk. And this man, out of the blue, just writes about this man Saeed, he's black and someone else. And it just stinks, man. Now, that's what they thought of us while we was over there. They looked at us and thought, oh, them black people, they're nothing, man. They smell. And in Arab writing, they didn't feel no way about writing this. In Arab literature, they didn't feel no way about writing about black people in a derogatory way. They didn't look and go, that's racist. I thought Islam's for everyone. Although they followed Islam, they thought negative of black people, man. Arabs thought negative of black people and felt no way about writing derogatory things in their writing. Had the foulest smelling armpits of anybody. They were gesturing together one day, and Said said to him, "You are a Zanji in your nose and lips," whereas the youth replied unto him, "You are Zanji in the collar and in your armpits," meaning basically like, you stink, man. And isn't that what people say about black people today? With no evidence, you smell, man. I don't know if it's because the dark skin, they assume that it smells or something. I don't know. But what they say about black people today, even in the Arab world, in Morocco, North Africa, Mauritania, wherever we were and the Africans, they just assume that we stink. And they'll getting on this man about his thick nose and his lips. So why would I follow a religion that hates my looks? Why would I be a part of a religion that the features I got think it's bad? And they were laughing about it in the camp. This is what Arabs that followed Islam thought about black people. But let's get another one. This is written by an Arab during the late 600 AD, satiricizing the Africans in 671 AD. But ironically, it is also referred to Ubayah Dala the son of Aka, one of the Africans of the Prophet Muhammad. So even this in this literature, Muhammad, he had black people in slavery as well. You know, in the hadiths, many of the slaves that Muhammad had, they were black. And you know, again, that's something that if you follow Islam, they will give you a one-sided view on. You know what I mean? And make it seem like that's not true. But we can also get into that also. You know what I mean? The spiritual head of all Arabs, who was apparently not blinded by the racism that afflicted many of his followers. So what does that mean? Meaning Muhammad was racist, and the people that was also following Muhammad, they was obviously racist against black people. Meaning it was obvious. So Muhammad wasn't blind to the racism that the people that was under him had. So in the Arab world, even in the lifetime of Muhammad, they was racist against black people. In the Hadith, Muhammad had black slaves. Abu Bakr, you know what I mean? He had black slaves. And in the Arab world, having black slaves was normal. And they wasn't blinded by it, meaning Muhammad knew that racism against black people existed. So for many people that leave, you know what I mean, like the Bible and go, well, I'm reading the Quran because of slavery and this and that. You're very ignorant to the Quran too, man. You're very ignorant to what Arabs did. And that's why you're in there. That's why you're there thinking you found something when Arabs hate black people too, man. Muhammad had black people in slavery too. The people that were under him, the people that were following Muhammad had black people in slavery too. And in the Muslim world, it was accepted. But let's read on. So let's read another piece of Arab literature. Sharif al-Zaman Tahir Marvazi makes it clear that blackness in 1120 AD in parts of the Arab world connotated badness, blackness thought to be the effect. So imagine that they thought our black skin was a defect, man. And you got black people in the mosque. When you're saying black skin in the Arab world in 1120, they thought it was a defect. They looked at black people and thought that dark skin, that's gonna be a defect, man. That can't be right. That black skin, something's gotta be wrong with that. And in the Arab world in 1120, they thought it was a defect. And black representing badness. No wonder in the Midlands, what do they call black people? The color, shiddies, and those are negative words. And it's not even said like, that's what I mean. How they say is like, that's what you are. Like in a conversation, yeah, this Allah around here, they say like it's nothing. Why? Because in the Arab world, that's how all of them look at black people, man. You know what I mean? You say, look, how can you say something so racist so easy? Because back in Bangladesh, back in what's some other ones? Baghdad, Iraq, Afghanistan, India, Morocco, Marintia, Egypt, where they reside. That's how they think of black people. Like you're nothing and you're negative and you're cursed. And being black is a defect. And that's why they can say so much racist stuff. That's why they can deal with you in the way that they do, because in their eyes you're black and you're nothing. And why do black people follow Islam, man? Where's this history taught? I'm sure many black people in the mosque don't even know this history even exists, man. Why? Because if you listen to Islam historians, they will give you a one-sided view on the history. Meanwhile, on a wider perspective, it's not the truth. You know what I mean? Thought as a defect has its use in some instances, such as when the government's agents dress in black in order to inspire objects to be afraid. So So imagine that in the Arab world, when you wanted to make someone afraid, they wore black. Why? Because we were black before. To make, you know what I mean, them afraid, just wear black and go, look like I'm like them black people over there. Why in this history talk? You know what I mean? Like what happens here? You know, you know what I mean? One of the days I'm gonna have to, break it down with someone, like, find someone who, is willing to reason. And when they say, yeah, man, I follow Islam because of what Christianity did, I want to bring some of this information to them, man, and what they thought about black people. Now, I'm not saying Christianity is a way. Christianity is a slave religion, but Islam is a slave religion too, man. We can't pick and choose what we want to accept. We can't pick what, I'll rather accept. If you're talking about we're trying to find a way, let's find it all the way, man. Let's not pick and choose what we like to hear. Let's not pick and choose what is convenient to us. Let's deal with the facts. And if you don't want to follow Christianity, then you shouldn't follow Islam too, man. Now listen, in the I.S.U.P.K, we read the Bible. The Bible is not a Christian book. The Bible is an Israelite book. It's a history book. Christianity has nothing to do with the Bible at all, man. You know what I mean? In the Bible, you find Israelites. In the Bible, you find the people that God loved, man. You don't find Islam in the Bible. You don't find Muhammad in the Bible. You know what I mean? But let's read on. All right. So another part. So now this is what Arabs thought about black people. There are very few societies that did not consider rape as a part of their privilege. So meaning when they would enslave Africans, Israelites as well, they thought rape was a part of it. So meaning when they went into a village, you know what I mean, the Africans or the Israelites that fought back, they were dead. They thought, well, now that we won, rape is a part of what we do. How come this part ain't taught? How come that when the Arabs done their war, raping came along with it, man? And raping wasn't negatively looked upon. It was a privilege, meaning, yeah, we won that war. Let's get raping. Like, that's how they looked at it. And you're telling me your imam don't know this. You're telling me your sheikh don't notice that raping was a part of their gain after they won a war, man. Reading on, part of the privilege of conquest or a tool of conquest, the Arabs were no exception. They considered women inferior to men and raped women. So they rape women, meaning anytime in war, once they had the captives, raping women was just a day in the life, man. And isn't it funny? In the UK, you got those rape gangs, those Indian Arab rape gangs that just rape white women galore. And young too, some of them 12, 13, 14, and they're grooming them just to rape them. Why? Because they were doing this in Arabia, in Afghanistan, in Damascus, in Iraq, in North Africa, you know what I mean, in Mauritania, Morocco, you know what I mean, and them places where to them raping was like, yes, we won the war, and raping was just a part of their everyday life. After war, the women that remained, raping. That was Arab life, man. And no one don't know this. No one, you know what I mean, no sheikh or imam never likes to talk about this. They want you to believe Arabs didn't enslave nobody. Arabs never harm nobody. Arabs would never do that. And Islam was spread by what? Romanticism. Like what we read in this book here, man. The legacy of Arab Islam. They want you to believe Islam was spread by romanticism. You know, it's just so nice. I told him about Muhammad, and his compassion was like, you know, I gotta follow Islam, man. I got to do it. That's not the truth. That is further away from the truth. By the same Arab, 1 second. No, that's it. And that I got another book as well. No, I got another part. So it goes: the blacks do not earn their way by their deeds. They are not of a good repute. They are stinking black. God has put no light in them. So that's what Arabs thought about black people, man. They looked at your dark skin and thought, God's put no light in you, and you're stinking black, and you don't earn your good deeds because you're bad anyway. And I've got you. If you don't believe me, read the book yourself, man. Read page 35. It's nothing I wrote, man. And it's called The Black Holocaust for Beginners. And they called us stinking black, and there's no light in us. Why? Because we're dark skinned. Because we're dark skinned, they looked at us and thought, you know what, those black people are no good. Look at them, they're black. You know what I mean? Black can't be good. And that's what Arabs thought about us while they followed Islam, while they done their Hajj, while they done their Shahada, man. So why are we in the mosque? Why are we trying to be a part of their religion, man? Why are we begging it, man? You know what I mean? We're in the mosque being made merchandise of. You're in the mosque buying the man dress, the rug, you know what I mean? The hadiths and everything that comes along with it. And listen, they know Islam ain't for you. You know, in the Arab world, a black man would not even be, they wouldn't even accept him. Meanwhile, over here, you know, try to say, you know what I mean? We follow the same religion, we're all one. When in the Arab world, they would not even accept a black person. Do you want to know a fact? Arabs don't even accept Indians that even follow Islam. When like someone who's from like what's some places, Iraq, India, and what's some other places, Bangladesh, when they go to Arabia to do their Hajj, Arabs hate them. Why? Because they're not the people of Muhammad. Muhammad was an Arab. Muhammad was an Indian, Bangladeshi, and what's some other ones? Indian, Iraqi. Muhammad was an Arab. And when they go to do their Hajj, Arabs don't even like them. So you come there with your black face, they're not even accepting you, man. You go there thinking, yeah, brothers, you know, what they say, salam alaikum. Them Arabs, they're not gonna show you no love. They don't even show Indians love, and they follow Islam. They don't show no one from Iraq no love when they go to even do their Hajj. So what makes you think they're gonna love you, man, when you go to do your Hajj? And I've heard it from people. I know a guy, he's from India, he follows Islam, and when he done his Hajj, he said it goes, they weren't really into me because I'm not Arab. So as a black man, Lord knows what they're gonna do to you. Lord knows what, you know what I mean, they got in mind for you. When they don't even like people that look like them because they're not Arab. And you know what I mean, we read in books that said stinking black. God's put no light in them, man. So, you know, we're living a lie, man. We're living a lie. Who's that? Roval. Yeah, you can. If you want to ask something, by all means, you can. You can ask it now if you want. Who else I got? Shalom Hadassah, Banyamyan in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands. Shalom, everyone. And on the Facebook too. Shalom Malakia, Malak Ban Yahawada, Shalom, Memphis, Shalom. You know what I mean? Everyone that's in here, you know, Shalom, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you got any questions, you know, you can write them in anytime. All right. So with that, let me get one second. Let me get Jeremiah 6 and 16. Jeremiah 6 and 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see. So what does this mean, man? Just look. You know, as black people, you know, we're always trying to find God. And, you know, one thing we don't do, we get one thing that we lack is the wisdom of religion, man. We don't research enough. And I hate to say it, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times, you know, at camp or in like little debates, what a lot of us say is what we've been told. It's what someone said to us. And the Bible saying, stand in the way and see, man. If you want to know where God is, just look. And you'll see that God's in the I.S.U.P.K, man. Just stand in the way and see what the UPK does for black people. And you'll stand in the way and see and know that God's right there, man. We've been in the church and I've stood in the way and saw church. And I know God is not there. God are in a place where the pastor's a liar and a thief. He's sleeping with other men's wives. And I know God ain't in the mosque neither, man. I know God ain't in a religion that, you know what I mean, they only care about their people, man. I know God ain't in a religion where they look down on us, man. Where they think to enslave people that were black was nothing, man. They thought that in war to rape people was nothing. So what we're saying, God's justifying rape. So in war, you know, anyone who you round up, raping them ain't really an issue because, you know, they're of war. And then now with their example, he didn't speak against racism. As what we read in the book that, you know what I mean, racism, even in the life of Muhammad, was widely accepted, man. So I can clearly look there and go, listen, God is not there, man. And that's why Jeremiah, you know what I mean, the Lord told him to stand in the way and see. And ask for the old path. And what's the old path? The path of Abraham, Isaac, man, and Jacob. That's the old path. The path of laws, statutes, and commandments. That's the old path, man, not Islam. You know what I mean? That's a new path, man. You know what I mean? Islam only came about after 600 AD, man. That's new. Islam's only 1,000 and some hundred years old. You know what I mean? How old is that, man? And God's saying, listen, man, ask for the old path. Ask for the old way, man. You know what I mean? I'll get to your question next as well, all right? I saw it. And ask for the old path. Where is the good way? And that's it, man. In the UPK, we have that good way, man. We make blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians unite, man. That's the good way. In Islam, black people don't unite. Do you know what happens when black people follow that religion? Drug dealing, killing, division. And how do I know? Because I see it every day, man. Every drug dealer out there selling some weed in the UK, what's their religion? Islam, man. They sell drugs all week, and then what? On Friday, they're in the mosque. They, you know what I mean, walk around with that knife to stab someone, then what? Friday, go in that mosque, man. They do Ramadan. So I know Islam can't be the way for black people. Why? Because I see the results of it, man. Even if you go to a prison right now, there's many black people in there, and what's their religion? Islam, man. Even while they're locked up, they're doing their night prayer, Ramadan. they're doing all of it while they're locked up. And while they're locked up, they're still smoking weed, man. While they're locked up, they're still doing crime in the prison. And that's how I know that Islam can't be for black people. Islam can't set black people free at all, man. Why? Because I see it. As what the Bible said, stand in the way and see. And I see it every day, man. I see that can't be the way. And then when I go into history, I know what Arabs that followed Islam done to black people. Now I know why. You're following a religion that hates black people. We are following a religion that to even be black was a curse from God, man. So how's that going to make black people love each other? How's that going to make black people care for each other when the founders of the religion hated black people, man? The founders of the religion had black people in slavery, and that's going to set us free. It doesn't make no sense, man. But I got the question. Question is, I ask you, can you give me some info about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Like, who found them? All right, the Dead Sea Scrolls. In Jerusalem, you have the Dead Sea. Now, why is it called the Dead Sea? Because it's a sea where there's salt and, you know, nothing grows there. That's why it's called the Dead Sea. In the Bible, you read about Lot and Sir Adam and Gomorrah. That's where the Dead Sea is. Why? Because God cursed that land for what they were doing, homosexuality, being gay, and He set down fire and brimstone upon that land. Now, of course, over time it became called the Dead Sea because nothing grew there. So the Dead Sea is the same place where Sir Adam and Gomorrah was in ancient times. Now, in that time, you had a sect of Jews called the Essenes, and they believe, they don't have sex. They just stay outside in that region and just serve God. And they had records. They had Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, all that. Now, of course, a book today is like this. Now, of course, in ancient times, no one wrote a book with a sabine. They had it in a roll. And now with the Essenes, they had many roles. Some were biblical based, some were historical based. So when you buy the book on the Dead Sea Scrolls, yes, you'll find Deuteronomy, Exodus, Leviticus, Isaiah. Then you'll find like more history stuff that ain't biblical based. So they, had lots of roles. Now what happened was when the Roman Empire was coming to capture Jerusalem, them Essenes being in a rush, they threw them in the caves in pots, in like a vase, and they threw them and just ran. And as some of them ran, they died. The Romans caught up with them. Now, down the line, in about the early 1900s, of course, with the land of Jerusalem, it has a lot of history and many excavations were done. And, they found them and they were shocked. Why were they shocked? Because the books of the Dead Sea Scrolls matched the Bible identically, matched Isaiah word for word, matched Deuteronomy word for word, matched Leviticus word for word. So now, because in ancient times, or well, in the medieval times, many people said, well, hang on, the Bible that we read today, how do we know that is an ancient Bible? How do we know that what is in there was what was said in the past? And of course, no one didn't find the Dead Sea Scrolls. So, it was always a debate like, well, how do you know? How do you know that Deuteronomy you're reading, that's the same that was written back then? And the Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed it. The Dead Sea Scrolls matched Deuteronomy word for word, matched Leviticus word for word, matched Isaiah word for word. Even in Jerusalem right now, the fake, the people that pretend to be us, in a museum there, they have the Isaiah Dead Sea Scroll, and you can read it yourself in the Hebrew, the same Hebrew that we write in the I.S.U.P.K. It's in there in like glass, and it's a big scroll, and you can read it. Deuteronomy in a scroll over glass, and you can stand there and you can read it for yourself, and it matched the Bible word for word. So what we're reading now is identical to what was written thousands of years ago. So that's what it confirmed. So that's what the Dead Sea Scrolls is. If that answered it for you, give me a con, give me a yeah. You know what I mean? All right, so let's go back to Jeremiah 6:16. In a good way and walk therein. And if we walk in that good way, you know what I mean? We're going to have rest. But let me get into some more history. Haven't got long left and got quite a bit to go through. All right, let me get... let me go back into the book, The Legacy of Arab Islam, page 103. All right, page 103, and kind of right. That's good, man. And also, too, don't just listen to what I said. Like, it's all researchable information. It's nothing I'm just winging. So, you know what I mean? You look it up as well. So, page 103. So the jihad campaigns thereof engendered violence and antipathy in non-Muslim areas. So now in Islam, they like to romanticize about, how Islam spread all over Africa, all over the East. But historians that don't follow Islam, they know better. They know otherwise. And they're saying they waged a holy war. Even if you look at the word jihad, it's just a holy war. They're saying that, look, they waged a holy war, man, on the regions that did not follow Islam. Reading on, in the Muslim areas, in some cases, became stumbling blocks to convert. So some people, they wouldn't even convert because of all the war they waged against them. They're like, why would I follow Islam? Every day you're trying to force me. You're trying to take my village. You're trying to rape my wife and that. So many of them simply wouldn't convert because of what the Arabs was even trying to even do to them. Amongst the vast majority of the people of the belt of Nigeria, there emerged and still exists a strong anti-Hausa and Fulani and anti-Islam feeling. So even in Nigeria till this day, they hate Islam, man. And if you look on the map, in that country there, on the south, they don't follow Islam, but on the north, you have the Hausa tribe, and they're Africans that converted. And what would the Arabs make them do? The Arabs would make them work for them, and work for them doing what? Capturing their own man to sell them as man slaves. And even to this day, they hate the Hausa tribe and the Fulani tribe. Why? Because for what all the hell they put upon them. And they hate Islam in the south part of Nigeria. Why? Because they know their history. They're not like us where we don't know. They know their history and they hate it. Why? Because they know what Islam tried to do to them. Reading on. Anti-Islam feeling because of the memories of the Islam slave raids in those regions, and they are scorned because with Islam it is seen as a mark of slave descent. So imagine that. Even filthy Hamites know that Islam is a mark of a slave descent, meaning in the south of Nigeria, they know that if you follow Islam, you are a good slave, man. Hamites know that, man. So why don't we know it? Why are we in England and in Jamaica following Islam when even they knew better? In Nigeria, they're like, nah, I'm not following Islam. Islam is a mark of slave descent, man. If I follow Islam, I'm showing that I'm a good slave. For all what they put us through, all of the raiding and slaving. But nah, I follow Islam even in this day. I'm just showing the mark of a good slave, man. And Nigerians know that. And now, are they better than us? No, they're not, man. Nigerians ain't better than us. But guess what? They got dignity. They know, nah, I'm going to follow a slave religion. And likewise, we shouldn't too, man. Arabs enslaved Israelites, man. And likewise, we shouldn't have that slave mark upon us too. Slave descent, they would say, I am not a slave, that I should do the salat. So in Islam, the salat is when you bow down, and they wouldn't do it. So even among them, like I'm not doing that because I'm not following that religion, man. So where's our dignity? Why ain't we saying the same thing? Like, I'm not doing that. Arabs enslaved Israelites, man. And why do we follow it? We're following it. Why? Because we are good slaves. And it's time that we stop being good slaves. That's what it comes down to, man. You know, like anything in life, you gotta get up and fight, man. You're not gonna let someone shove you around all your life. And that's what we've been doing. When we follow religion, we're getting shoved around. And you wanna know what's so strange about it? It's like when they see us at camp, they're shocked that we have something of our own. It's like, what? You don't follow Christianity, you don't follow Islam. So what? So then, what do you follow? Like as if there's nothing we have of our own. It's like if you were in the mosque or in the church. So what are you doing? Listen, man, you're either a slave for the white man or you're a slave for the Arab. But as a black man doing your own thing, I can't see that. And that's what it comes down to, man. They think of us as slaves. You're either a slave to the European or you're a slave to the Arab. But you being an Israelite standing on your own, denying both religions, that's not making sense. And that's the problem that we have, man. Jeremiah 2. I'm going to get back to this book, Jeremiah 2. Jeremiah 2 and 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? And that's what God's saying, man. And if you notice, it has a question mark at the end, meaning what? Like, are you slaves? What's going on, man? We're just serving everyone's gods, following everyone's religion. And God from heaven, got his report from the angels. Like, is Israel a servant? Is he a slave? What's wrong with us? And that's the problem, man. We think if we leave Christianity, we gotta follow Islam. And if you don't follow Islam, you gotta follow Egyptology. You gotta follow Rastafarianism. And that's slavery right there. None of us never go, what am I? Forget religion. Me, who do I descend from? What am I? And that's the problem. We would rather be under some oppressor's wing, like, here, son, you mean? I'll look after you. You just come to my church and be a good slave. You just come in my mosque and be a good slave. You believe Ethiopia is the land and follow Selassie. And you know that his name ain't even Selassie too. His name is Selassie, Selassie the First. But I don't want to sound rude because some people can't read. They said Selassie. It's not Selassie. You are aware of that. No, it's not Selassie. It's Selassie the First. But I don't want to sound mean because some people can't read. The first. They thought it was I. I thought Selassie. It's Selassie the First. It's not Selassie. Even in Ethiopia, they say Haile Selassie. Even they know no one says Selassie. But when you can't read, it becomes Selassie. It's not Selassie. It's Selassie the First. You know what I mean? So here we go, Selassie, and what they say, I and I this, I that. That's one of the big misunderstandings in the world. It's not Selassie, it's Selassie. You know what I mean? And it's sad. When you meet a grown man saying Selassie, like, you can't read. You say Selassie the First. No, I kid you not. When I found out, I was reading like, where does Selassie come from? It's Selassie the First, but they saw the first and assumed it was I. Yes, Selassie. It's not Selassie. It's Selassie the First. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's for another class, another day. You know what I mean? So is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? And God said that, man. Like, look at us, we're just around everywhere. This religion, that religion. It's like we gotta be under someone. We can never stand upon our own and go, listen, I'm the Israelite, man. I'm the people of God, and I'm forbidden to be in any religion. I'm forbidden to follow anyone's God, man. And that's why we end up saying Selassie, because we're so busy trying to follow this man. At least know how to say his name. You know what I mean? If you're gonna worship someone, at least get the name right, man. You know what I mean? But let me get back to it. All right, let me get to it. I must charge my phone as well. Whoa, I'm just up in that. All right, where was I? So read at page 103. Yeah, so at page 146. So yeah, just something to always note down. Anytime someone says Selassie, it's Selassie the first. It's not Selassie. All right, page 146. So now this is what Arabs thought about black people and that. You know what I mean? To have a slave, what what matched their thoughts? So page 146, conservative estimates suggest that between the 11th, that between 11 and 14 million Africans were transported to lands outside of tropical Africa. So Arabs transported 14 million people, man, in slavery. Imagine that. Over the time, transported 14 million people, man, to Zanzibar, to Mecca, you know what I mean, to North Africa and wherever they sold them. The common folklore believed that the reason for being enslaved, according to the holy law, is merely that a man should be black and come from those regions. Imagine that. So, according to the holy law, according to the Quran, a slave had to be black and come from Africa. That's what made a slave. So if you came from Africa or that region and you was black, according to Islam, you was ready to be a slave. That's what they thought. You know what I mean? And I got the book, man. I got the history. And that's what Arabs thought about black people, that you had to be black and come from those regions. You could be a slave. That's all. That's all what it took. That's all what it took is that, well, if he's black, then he can be a slave. And why do we follow Islam, man? Why do we follow Islam when that's what Arabs that follow that same religion, that done Hajj, done the Shahada, thought about you? That, well, you can be a slave because you're black. And that's why I've noticed whenever they come to the UK, they think they can just submit to you anyway. They think they can deal with you anyway. Why? Because back home, they think black people are just slaves, man. They come over here and get rude and like, hang on. And they're shocked, like, you're speaking back to me. Damn, like this is shocking. Do you know why it's shocking? Because back home in Afghanistan, Iraq, Arabia, that's how they deal with black people, man, or people with dark skin. And when you come here and it's not the same, they're shocked, like, raw, like, you answer me back. You hit me back, like, yes. Like, oh man, like, damn, like, I'm not expecting this. Why? Because back home, in their eyes, black people are just slaves. Let's read on. The holiest city of Islam, Mecca, became the center of the slave trade. Imagine that. The place where they go to do Hajj was the center of the slave trade. Meaning, whenever they done their Hajj, they will bring slaves along with them. It was the center of it all. Meaning, that place where a man must go once in his life. That was the center of the slave trade, man. So what are we doing following Islam? What are we doing all up in that religion? But that holy place where you must do Hajj was the center of the slave trade, man. Meaning your ancestors, some of them, they were sold there, man. They were sold right there. And guess what? They didn't think nothing was wrong with it. But let's read on. This became the center of the slave trade in the world and remained so well into the 20th century. So imagine that even into the 1900s, Arabs were still enslaving black people and Africans, man. Imagine that to the 1900s, man. And then they got some nerve to not even let you in on this history. If you want me to follow Islam, be honest with me, go, listen, we do have a bad past. You even lied to black people. You even lie and go, we never did that. You give us a one-sided view of the history, and that's not right, man. It's like, is there a recharger over there? Just charging my phone. You see a plug or anything? You know what I mean? They lied to us, man. Can't even give us the truth of what Arabs done to black people, man. Mine is the wider one, the wide lead. If you see it. So now Arabs enslaved black people, man. And they will never let you have this history. They will never, ever let you in on any of this history, man. That's all that should be a plug part. If you don't see it, it's 12. You know what I mean? But they never ever let you in on this history, man. They even the holiest place, Mecca, was the center of the slave trade in the world, man. Meaning, when Arabs would go back to do the Hajj, they would take slaves along with them, and no one never talks about that. That history is heavily, heavily ignored, man. So here's the problem: should us as black people be following Islam? No, we should not. Yeah, you bring it here. You know what I mean? So why are we following this, man? You know what I mean? This religion clearly is anti-black. You know, everyone loves talking about, Malcolm X, Islam's a black man's religion. What's the other one? The one that is, you know what I mean, Ali Muhammad. You know what I mean? Him too, man. Islam's the original black man's religion and all that stuff. But look what they think about us, man. This evidently cannot be the black man's religion, man. It's called lies. That's what it's called. And that's the problem. We are up in lies, man. We are following lies. And yeah, that's the problem right there, man. Too busy following lies. But let me read on. Mecca to the 20th century. From there, slaves were captured and brought from East Africa and the Sudan, and were sold to all parts of Arabia and the Islam world. So imagine that. Why don't they teach black people this history, that when they would go to do their Hajj, they would, bring slaves along with them and sell them all throughout the Islam world. What is the Islam world like? Iraq, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, like basically in the Middle East. And that's what they did on their holy journey, on their religious journey. That's what they were doing, man. So, how is Islam gonna help black people? When in real history, not your imam's biased history that he likes to give you, not in your sheikh's biased history that he wants you to have. They clearly enslaved black people and sold them all throughout the Arab world. So you know what I mean? So why isn't this taught? They rather you be romanticized with Islam. They rather you believe the lies of Islam, but never ever know the facts. Okay, sorting out this. And that's the problem, man. That's the problem that we face over here, man. We are in a war, and in this war, we're being lied to, man. In this war, we're being given lies, and we don't even research it for ourselves. Mecca was the center of the slave trade, man, in the world. And when they would do their Hajj, they would take slaves along with them and sell them all throughout the Arab world, man. All right, shalom, everyone, up in there, up in the chat as well. All right, all right. It became a way of life to take slaves along the way, or to buy slaves while there. So now even then, so now that's it on that part. But so that means when they were there doing their Hajj, it was normal. You either brought slaves with you, or while you done your Hajj, you would actually buy some slaves to take back where you was going. Getting page 159. Right, page 159. One second. All right. A significant part of black men were castrated and were used in the Islam lands as the guards and as attendants at the holy sites, such as the Kaaba at Mecca. So imagine that black slaves in the holiest place of Hajj, they would actually castrate them. So that means you cut off a man's bits. And now I thought Islam, was a religion of peace. And in the holiest place, you will castrate black men and use them as guards so that they protect that rock, so that they protect that dome which everyone loves so much. And why in this history talk, why is it when a black person follows Islam, this history is rejected? This history is avoided. This history is clearly, blocked out of history. Why? Why when this is history right here, but they deny these facts to get black people into Islam. They deny these things so that they go, look, man, look what Europeans did. Look what Europeans did, man. Come, man. My sheikh, he'll show you the way, man. Not realizing they are just as bad. They did the exact same thing, but what did they try to do? Try to shove all the blame on Europeans when they are just as bad, man. Let me read that again. So the black men were castrated and used as guards at the harems and to serve as attendants at the holy sites, such as the Kaaba at Mecca and the Prophet's mosque at Medina. So imagine that they were using black people as guards for their holy sites, and they castrated them. Do you know what it means? You stopped a man from having kids, man, from reproducing, just so that he can be your God at in Mecca and at your holy sites. That's all he was worth to you. And I'm meant to follow Islam as a black man. It's not right, man. We can't be slaves to religion no more, man. We can't be serving no other nation's gods no more, man. And the history is there. If you're in the church, shame on you, man. Look what that religion has done to black people, man. Enslaved black people for 400 years, and Islam has enslaved black people for over 1,000 years and counting, man. So So we can't be doing this anymore. We can't be taking part in this anymore. Harems, they formed a special class of highly priced slaves kept by Islamic rulers and Borgias from the heart of the Islam world. So that means that, so now with the black slaves, that could be like a guard. They were more expensive. But imagine that our life was just to make sure their holy sites were protected, man. So while you castrate this man, you also wanted to protect Mecca, protect Muhammad's mosque in Medina. Forget that. That's nothing to me. That's your problem. And that, what does that mean to me? It means something to you. Make Arabs protect that. Make Arabs guard that. But instead, they will use black men, man. You know what I mean? But let me get into this book here. Then I believe pretty much be up on the time. All right. Let me get the page. Bear with me. All right, then. So now we're gonna get into how like it made us feel. So okay, now the Arabs, they I mean they're making us follow their religion, and let's see what else it done to black people mentally. So this is another book, A Short History of Slavery by James Alvin. So this is it right here, and you see it right there. So this is page 32. So now, enslave Africans, infusing Islam with a pronounced sense of racial prejudice. So even they knew that because of their race, they was hated on. So although they followed Islam with the Arabians, because they were black, we showed you that race and religion are two different things. So they followed their religion, but because they were black, they still suffered racial prejudice. Formed as early as the 8th centuries, contemporary writs issues of blackness and slavery. So now this guy here, he's African born. His name is Su'ayim, who died in 660, and he writes, if my Ko'ola was white, everyone would of me, but because the Lord has marred me with blackness, and that's what Arabs made black people feel like, man. And I'm meant to be the mosque. When this religion is making me feel like, well, I'm cursed because I'm black. It made this man feel like if I was pink, maybe they might love me. Maybe these Arabs might love me if I wasn't black. So how is this gonna boost a black man's self-esteem, man? When you mean we seen what he done already? This is history. This man died in 660, and look at it made him feel. It's like, if I were pink, maybe they might love me, man. But you know what I mean? The Lord has marred me with blackness, man. And where did it get it from? From their book, man. From the Quran, man. Which made him feel like, like I'm cursed. Some Arabs were, but the majority are like what you see today. And you know what I mean? And they did have a problem with black people, especially Israelites and Africans. They had an issue with with that. You know what I mean? So it goes, so now this is another one called Nusayib ibn Rabah, who died in 726. Blackness does not diminish me as long as I have this tongue and a stout heart. So what is he saying? Like, blackness doesn't make me bad because I'm a nice person. Meaning the Arab world made him feel like his blackness was something, there was something wrong with him. So how is Islam embettering black people when people that lived around them, it brought down their self-esteem. It made them feel bad. It made them feel low. It made them feel like because they were black, something was wrong with them. So if it didn't work for them, it ain't going to work for us. It ain't going to work for us in Handsworth, us in London, us in Manchester. You know what I mean? Look, it didn't work for them. And they followed Islam, and Arabs still hated them because they were black. I'm saying it as it is. This one here, also in the 8th century, after being goaded by racial insults. So he written this after being goaded by racial insults. Though my hair is like wool and my skin is coal black, my hand is open and my honor is bright. Meaning, though I'm black, I'm a nice person. Yeah, they racially abuse me, but I'm a nice person. Again, man, you know what I mean? Islam ain't for black people, man. We're living a lie. We're in the Midlands living a lie. We're in London living a lie. We're in Manchester living a lie. We're in Liverpool living a lie, man. We're in Leeds living a lie. We're in Wales, Cardiff, Newport, Swansea living a lie, man. Islam cannot help black people, and they enslave black people too. And how do we know? We got the history. You know what I mean? We've been doing it all throughout the class, man. Nothing but history, nothing but facts. Nothing but images that they got firsthand, man. And it's a slave religion, just like Christianity. It's a slave religion, just like Christianity. And many black people that follow Islam are denying the facts. Many black people that follow this simply are avoiding the truth, man. And that's the problem. You know what I mean? We're walking around trying to avoid something that happened, trying to avoid a fact so that we can feel a part of something. And forget that, man. If you want to be a part of something, be a part of something with black people, man. Be a part of something where you mean something. Why are you going to be a part of something in a religion that thinks being black is a defect? Being black diminishes you. And it affected black people, and we're reading their accounts. It doesn't make no sense, man. But let me get back into this book real quick. All right, so this is page 34. This, by God's life, is one of the wickedest and greatest evils perpetrated upon God's religion. So in this context, God's religion is Islam right here. Now we're going to find out why they're saying this is so evil. For the people of the Sudan are Muslims, having the same rights and responsibilities as ourselves. So imagine that when black people did convert to this religion, the Arab world was disgusted, like, what? They're following Islam, so they're going to have the same rights like us. So now they're going to get heaven like us. They was offended, man. And you're telling me an imam, a sheikh, doesn't know this about Islam. The Arabs, that when the people of the Sudan that were dark-skinned converted, they're like, what? They're going to have the same rights and responsibilities like us. And they thought it was what? A great evil. Like, I can't believe this. They're going to pretty much be serving Allah like us. You mean, what more can I say, man? What more can we do? It's clear that they don't like black people, man. Arabs under Islam don't like black people. We live in a lie. We are living a lie in the UK, man. They enslaved us and didn't even want us to be a part of the religion. They found it a great evil, meaning in the Arab world, in Iraq, Mecca, Afghanistan, they're like, what? You're converting black people? You're crazy. You know what I mean? I can read it again. This, by God's life, is one of the wickedest and greatest evils perpetrated upon God's religion, meaning, you mean you're shaming Islam? You're doing evil upon Islam? For the people of the Sudan are Muslims, having the same rights and responsibilities as ourselves. Like, so they're going to get to heaven like us. They're going to be able to come in and do Hajj like us. And you know what I mean? That's how they felt. They were disgusted by it, man. It wasn't like, yeah, Islam's for everyone. That's why in England, when people say that, that shows me how much you don't know about Islam. Because history says otherwise. Islam is very racist. Islam is very Arab upbringing and not for black people. And you know what I mean? And when people say that, it shows how much you don't know.
So why did they make it for everyone then? Why didn't they keep it for themselves?
Well, no, they only say it's for everyone to come to England. And of course, you know what I mean, to act like to avoid war. But the Quran says what it says. You know what I mean? You read it, it says what it says. So all those verses about jihad and the holy war, kill the infidel, those verses don't disappear. Just that to come to England and to try and like, no, we're nice people. They say that, but the Quran says what it says. You know what I mean? So now, reading on, whoever maintains the opposite is denying the basic facts. It is awful gold. If someone comes at you and goes, that's a lie, they are denying the basic facts, man. So that's it on the class. Any questions before we go? Oh, someone got a question? Okay, yes, the Romans, of course, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, well, they were around or they were made before the Romans had the Bible. Now, of course, again, this is another bit of history. In a place called Antioch, you know what I mean? And you find it in the Bible in Acts 11. There was also there was also manuscripts there called the received text. In the Greek, the Textus Receptus. So of course, I mean, there was obviously the Bible around, but the Dead Sea Scrolls is the oldest version of the Bible, and it matches the Bible that we read today from the received text, the Textus Receptus. So yes, there was many other manuscripts going around, but many of them weren't accurate. Many of them didn't even have all of the Bible in it. But with the received text in the Bible, you read about in Acts, that's where the disciples were. And that's why it's called the received text, meaning that those were the records that they received from the disciples. The books of Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, even in the Gospels, Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. And then also, even from the received text, not far from there, you have the Peshitta text, the Peshitta text. And why? Because they got that from the received text and it matches it the same as well. So yes, there was many scrolls going around, but when the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, that showed that the Bible we're reading now and what's in the Dead Sea Scrolls match, mean that we're reading the same thing. If that's understandable. Okay, and your other question, the Romans didn't find the Bible. You know, of course, you know, at that time, many Israelites, we were speaking Latin at that time. So, you know what I mean? So now, again, at that time, Israelites were going off, but some of them, they started up the Catholic Church. And of course, you know, over time, they put them together also as well. If yes, I can assume that this spells gift. I don't understand that right there. This spells the disciples gave them the Bible, but yeah, that's what is traditionally known about the received text. That you mean it came from the disciples that went up there and they set things up. You know what I mean? And you can look it up online. You can type in the Textus Receptus, and you know what I mean. All the books are there and everything. So with that, that's the class. And you know, with that till Wednesday, the history class with the officer Dongabar. Shalom.